name is Megan O'Russell.
And my name is Christopher Russell, and welcome back to Page by Page, writing the book in real time, and we are at episode 16, chapter 15, and we are finally getting into the crux of the game. Play the game, play the game, play the game, play the game, play the... I'm sorry, I had to.
Are you singing Clue the musical?
I am singing
right
Clue
now?
the musical. For those of you who don't know, there is a very
you
bad...
You are fired. You are no longer on the
There is a really bad version of Clue. There was actually a lot of fun. And granted, that number...
will learn to live without you.
Oh my goodness. That particular number was not actually in the production that we did. But it was in the production that we previewed. But yeah. Anyway,
previewed?
I don't know. What would you call that? It was the raising the, I don't know.
Oh, there was a stupid promo we had to be in.
Stupid promo.
And some people had to learn the stupid song.
Yes, they did.
What?
Yes, and I was one of them. Oh, you weren't in that, were you?
No.
Lucky you.
I know.
You didn't have to suffer through that number.
No, I didn't.
Number is horrible. Anyway, we are not here to talk about musical theater, although musical theater references will undoubtedly come up at some point because, hey, that's our life. But we are here to talk about Sketchbook of a Wayward Seer. Before we do that, I'm going to introduce the beer of the week, which, Megan, let's see, can you tell the difference between our two? Let's look at them.
Wait, am I
No,
looking
not
at them?
really. Yeah.
Yes, I can. Yours looks
is
evil, and mine looks happy.
It's not evil. Okay, so mine is this is from the same company that does Golden Monkey, which is what Megan is having tonight. It's Victory Brewing, and mine is Juicy Monkey, which is actually like a fruit forward IPA, and it's quite nummy. Megan didn't want it though.
I wanted a beer that tastes like beer.
Oh, for Pete's sake. Okay, well, cheers
to Ella.
To Ella.
To catty ass Ella.
And it's Paige. Okay. We really do need to come up with a theme song for Paige.
It's Paige Paxman. Paige Paxman. No, that wasn't very good either.
That
One day it's going to click and it's going to be like magic, but this isn't that day.
It is. I'm feeling kind of like an It's Jess from New Girl vibe. No?
That's not it either. Because it's better when it's Paige Paxman.
Oh, okay. Oh, maybe that, we haven't watched it yet, but maybe that theme song at the end of WandaVision with Agatha all along. Do you remember?
No. She needs her own unique style of theme song.
Okay, yeah, but I'm trying to base it. Okay, all right. We will revisit this.
I said it wasn't going to be today.
You did. Okay, so...
so before we continue...
Yes, go ahead.
I want you to know, before we go into the chapter, that right now we are recording this episode very late.
It's 10:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and this goes up in less than 8 hours.
Because I went down a rabbit hole creating some parts of the chapter.
Add that to your bingo card. Megan went down a rabbit hole.
And it got a little extreme, so I ran a little late on editing.
She's using the word little incorrectly.
But I just wanted to own up to that and also admit that any extra slap happy is thoroughly on that's on me this time. No, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm here for you. I think it was worth it.
It was. I love this chapter.
I mean, potentially unnecessary. Okay, absolutely unnecessary, but well worth it.
But I don't know that I would call it unnecessary. I could have
made it work without.
Yeah, but why? It's so fun
to get
I wish that. Well, yeah, but I wish that we had seen even more of the ridiculousness. To be honest, not that I didn't love the chapter, but I would have absolutely been here for like another 30 pages of just the game itself. We do get into a bit of the gameplay for Keepers of the Arcane Text, and so be excited for that. I love it. We should have a theme. No, stop it. No more theme songs. Okay, don't overdo it. So before we get into the reading of this week's chapter, go ahead and give us our last time on.
Previously on Sketchbook of a Wayward Seer.
Sorry.
Ellie Day has been researching what happened to Clara and who the mysterious dead girl in her vision might be. She comes to Andre's very fancy house for a keeper of the KAT Society, or Keepers of the Arcane Text Society, whereupon she finds out that Keepers of the Arcane Text is a badass board game these people are obsessed with. She goes into the library to get a special tutorial from Jason.
Oh my god, it is not a... Okay.
Is it?
A special tutorial.
Why do you think Jason got picked to give her the tutorial?
I know what Paige is doing, okay? I am well aware.
So it's a special tutorial from Jason.
For Pete's sake.
And unfortunately, Ella has a vision of Jason laying horribly, horribly wounded, presumably bleeding to death in the woods.
And her hands are covered in blood. Blood. We are slap happy. I was in my mind, okay, and you can tell me if we have to cut this, but you were like a special tutorial session. I was like, yes, in which Ella uses her iron snarl. And I'm like, I don't know what that. First of all, I'm horrified. I am curious. I am tempted to look it up on the internet to see if there's a dirty meaning of it. I was about to say, that's the card that you created,
I know, but I'm wondering if it could be used in that context. But the fourth thing I want to say, I'm not sure if I'm on for or not.
Who knows?
The fourth thing I want to say is also that's probably a horrific thing to look up in any form of a sexual way because it will probably traumatize me for days.
Probably. Well, so do you remember?
We're not going to look it up.
Do you remember? You know what it immediately made me think of were the chastity belts that we saw in Venice.
Okay, that is not Italy. What an iron snarl is.
No, but
that is like the legend of the vagina tea. So, okay, what we're talking about is when we were in. We
have been very privileged, and in many ways, but to travel a lot.
It was in Venice, right?
It was in Venice. Yeah.
Okay, we were at a museum in Venice. We saved up our per diem.
Was it the Doge's
Palace? We were on a national tour.
Is that right?
Sure, either way, that part doesn't matter.
Sorry.
But basically, it's this metal chastity belt. But where the vagina is, there are inward pointing teeth. So should a penis attempt penetration, it couldn't get out. The claws would lock it in there. And the only way to get the penis back out would be to like slash it off. So these were like these horrible teeth clawed chastity belts, which I think is where... I mean, in my head, that's where a vagina has teeth, like, myth comes from. But weird myths is not, in fact, the purpose of this podcast.
Can I tell you?
It's Sketchbook of a Wayward Seer and the mythology. No. It's the mythology in Lauraldale. I'm bridging it into the text.
I can't.
The mythology in Lauraldale, which is the purpose of the Page by Page podcast. And with that... Shall we begin?
Oh, no. Oh, man. Okay. How many of our previous students, listen to this podcast? I am horrified.
I just recited historical facts.
I know.
And then quoted a well-known urban legend turned movie.
That's true. Teeth. We need to watch that movie, actually. I hear it is awful and yet amazing.
Okay, maybe someday. But can we?
All right, yes, we do have to read the chapter. Okay, so
this
moving away from teeth.
This is entirely my fault, y'all. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I will let you take the blame for that. Okay, so, and actually, we're not doing badly on time. So if we needed to go back and talk more about that movie, I'm kidding. All right, so was there anything else that you wanted to add before we go?
For the previously on?
Or just anything at all, like anything you want to tell us about?
Just to give a quick refresher on how the game situation is set up when we get back to it.
Sure.
We are at a game table. Well, the game table is set up in Andre's house. Andre is the game weaver,
Quest Weaver,
aka Quest Weaver.
Yeah, okay.
Then the scholars or players are seated 3 to a side on the western, southern, and eastern side in their 3 clans.
Although there is somebody who's not here yet, Evan.
Evan's
not here. Dear Evan Hansen,
dramatic
you've been way too out of touch. Yeah.
Continue.
Okay. All right. So then, without further ado.
So much ado
about a lot, actually. This is Sketchbook of a Wayward Seer by Megan O. Russell, Chapter 15. The blood dripping from my hands still held the heat of a living heart. The trees twisted, their limbs contorting as I made myself look away from past Jason, whose screams had faded into gasped, disjointed calls for help, searching for the other victim in the vision, the one whose blood wouldn't stop dripping from my fingertips. Drip, drip. The blood could keep falling forever, the patter never slowing, like a steady source kept replenishing the proof of whatever horror I'd committed. No, it's the past. You couldn't have done anything. You weren't there. But the blood? Why? Why on my hands? At least they felt like my hands. The trees sharpened into talons, wrapping around me, piercing my flesh, not letting me turn to see whatever the terror surging through my veins promised lurked right behind me. A talon pierced the front of my throat. Pain, the taste of blood, the need for air. Fuck, I needed air. To sit? Shit, Ella! Hands, strong but not sharpened, not made to tear flesh, gripped my shoulders. The forest flashed away, snapping my mind back to Andre's library and Jason's face, level with mine, panic widening his eyes. Sorry, that was silly. I went over to check sound levels. Let's go back. The forest flashed away, snapping my mind back to Andre's library and Jason's face, level with mine, panic widening his eyes. He dropped one hand to my waist, like he was preparing to catch me. Do I need to call someone? The pain in my throat hadn't disappeared with the vision. I couldn't make my voice work. I shook my head. Jason didn't look comforted. He didn't look like someone who'd had his back slashed either. How the hell could he have survived that? Unless you're wrong, Ella. If it wasn't him, if it wasn't the past, if you can't tell the difference. Is there anything I can do? Jason glanced toward the door. How can I help? I closed the narrow distance between us and wrapped my arms around him, laying my palms on his back. He froze. I didn't care. I didn't care. I didn't even fucking care. I couldn't feel it. The scar he had to have. You're okay. Jason wrapped his arms around me, pulling me closer to his chest. The movement tightened his shirt across his back just enough. A long, raised, what felt like a welt but was, in fact, a gnarly-ass scar ran from beneath my hand near his right shoulder to my other hand near the left side of his waist. You haven't snapped. Not yet. A wave of exhausting relief rolled through my body, draining the tension from my limbs. You're okay, Jason whispered. I let myself sink into that temporary truth, measuring my breathing, reminding my throat it hadn't been pierced by a massive talon. Jason's status as a human wall of gym-honed solid muscle made melting into his warmth so irresistibly easy. The softness of his shirt against my cheek, steady rhythm of his heartbeat, and proven ability to catch me if my legs gave out also made clinging to him until I fell asleep seem like a truly... The softness of his shirt... I'm opting for different sound effects this time other than...
Isn't that the sound they say in Animal Kingdom that a giraffe makes?
A giraffe bleats like a sheep.
Oh, I was close.
You were close. Yeah, okay. That's true. Yeah, little known fact. And the more you know. Okay. The softness of his shirt against my cheek, steady rhythm of his heartbeat, and proven ability to catch me if my legs gave out also made clinging to him until I fell asleep seem like a truly legitimate option. Then Jason said, "What happened?" shattering my moment of calm. If you don't want to talk about it, about watching you bleeding to death in the woods, I understand. But if I can help, please tell me how. How are you still alive, Jason Archer? The question almost reached my lips. Can you tell me about Clara? I forced out the more important, or at least more relevant to current problems, question. What? Jason kept his arms around me but leaned back, frowning like he hadn't heard properly. Clara Miranda. He tensed. I stepped back, sliding free from him. He just stared at me, his eyebrows pinched together and head tilted, like his brain had gotten stuck in processing mode. The Clara who moved to Laurelville a couple of years ago, I said. Do you remember her? You know Clara. He didn't relax. No. I ducked my chin, buying myself an extra heartbeat to pick a lie that balanced simplicity and functionality. I heard her name from someone at school. They said she was a new student who couldn't hack it in Laurelville. She didn't fit in, so someone finally dragged her out of her house in the middle of the night to get rid of her. Jason's eyes narrowed. They said I'd go the same way as Clara. The muscles in the sides of his neck popped out as confusion morphed into muted anger. Who told you that? Sorry, I'm making a quick note. Man, I'm fast. Okay. Sorry. It's true. I can type 92 words per minute. Okay. The muscles in the sides of his neck popped out as confusion morphed into muted anger. Who told you that? Not important. Yes, it is. People shouldn't be lying to scare you. It's not a lie. I found Clara in an old paper. Wait, just... He let out a long, deliberate breath, like he was prepping himself to face scrubbing up a mess. Okay, yes, there was a girl named Clara, but whoever compared you to her is full of shit. Why? I sat on the desk, laying my hands in my lap, ready for story time whether Jason liked it or not. He opened his mouth, closed his mouth, and shook his head for good measure. Clara hated everything about Laureldale and everyone here, and she was very happy to show it. Even when she had a boyfriend, she only bothered being nice to him. After a while, I guess he wasn't enough, so she ran away. But why would Clara leave the door open if she ran away? Jason's eyes. Okay, so hold on. I'm actually going to not even snap here. Because I want to see if that peaked the mic badly enough that we need to go back. But I'm going to go back in a way as though we didn't like this never happened, okay? But I'm going to leave it in just because if it doesn't peak the mic, it's hilarious. Okay.
I was trying.
That was so startling. We're having this very intimate conversation in the book, and then you're like,
I had like full on pressing on the tip of my nose trying.
I don't know if any of you have ever seen this sketch, but there's a great sketch featuring Will Ferrell, and I forget the actress's name, but she is absolutely brilliant in this. But where it's a fake commercial like they do on SNL sometimes, Saturday Night Live, for those of you who aren't familiar with the acronym, but where they do these fake commercials, and they're doing one for an allergy medicine, and Will Ferrell's sneeze is literally, and I'm going to not make it as loud, but and he's just like screaming. And so I now, and his character's name is Gary, so occasionally I'll call Megan Gary when she sneezes. That was completely unnecessary. But
the story to mock my sneezing?
Absolutely.
Okay, continue.
All right. Okay, here we go.
You're so mean. Okay, continue.
Okay. All right. But we have to act as though we're going into this again, just in case we have to cut all that.
Okay.
He opened his mouth, closed his mouth.
Sorry,
You're such a turd. Okay.
Well,
and now it officially stays in. All right. He opened his mouth, closed his mouth, and shook his head for good measure. Clara hated everything about Laureldale and everyone here, and she was very happy to show it. Even when she had a boyfriend, she only bothered being nice to him. After a while, I guess he wasn't enough, so she ran away. But why would Clara leave the door open if she ran away? No sneeze? Okay. Jason's eyes narrowed just a touch. They told me Clara's phone and wallet were found in the kitchen she'd been dragged out of. Someone kidnapped. Please tell me who's been feeding you this shit. It's not shit. I saw the whopping 4 articles in the paper. Don't fuck this up, Ella. He doesn't deserve your anger, Ella. Jason dragged his hands down his face, closed his eyes, sighed, and shook his head again. Clara had a history of destruction of property and running away. Before she ran from I just delivered that wrong. I'm sorry. Clara had a history of destruction of property and running away. Before she ran from Laureldale, she trashed the kitchen of the lady who'd taken her in and left the back door open to let the rain in as an extra fuck you. She left her phone and wallet behind, which she'd already done the first time she ran from Laureldale not that long before. And the blood, there was blood. Jason flinched, his hands jerking like he'd almost reached for me, afraid I'd repeat whatever had happened when I'd crashed into the vision of him screaming in pain. There was a little blood in the kitchen, but I've lost a hell of a lot more falling off a bike. I know. I've seen the pictures in Dad's files. Clara smashed the cupboards on one side of the room and tore down a shelf of mugs on the other. Nobody got hurt fighting off an attack. The blood was vandalism with a side of stitches. Wait. I gripped the edge of the desk, vowing self-control. You think Widow Tomic's kitchen being too efficiently trashed means Clara couldn't have been taken? Widow Tomic? Fuck. Tell me I'm missing something. I kept pushing. Who the hell has been trying this hard to freak you out? Jason! He stared at me, silent. I couldn't tell if he was planning what to shout back, or if, like me, he was listening for anyone running to check out the drama. Look, Ella, I promise you, no one took a glance at the kitchen and decided Clara was a runaway. Jason spoke just above a whisper. As soon as the call about an abduction came in, everyone my dad has ran up the mountain to search, and they would have kept looking. But when a storm and a mountain tell you to go, you fucking go. Before it was safe to go back out, Clara's own parents told Dad not to waste his time looking for her. She was a chronic runaway, and her parents had warned their own kid they were done looking for her. When the storm had passed, Dad still sent people back out to search in case she'd gotten lost in the woods, but they never found anything. Rain can do that. So can nothing having been there in the first place because Clara ran away. He sat on the desk beside me. I hate that Clara was so miserable in Laureldale. And whatever she was going through, I'm sure getting dropped in a tight-knit town made things worse, but you are nothing like her. She and I are more alike than you can ever know. Ella, you already have friends here, and I don't think you hate Laureldale. He tested a small smile. Hopefully. I rarely hate places with decent coffee and carbs. Good. Jason's smile grew a touch before his face darkened back to that somehow sexy, anger-sharpened worry. You'll like Laureldale more when the lying asshole backs off. Any chance you'll tell me who it is if I promise not to let Paige loose on them? Flicking guilt aside, I tucked my chin and shook my head. I've had a rough enough first week. I don't want to make things worse by pissing people off. He reached out, placing his hand where I could see it with my head lowered. Promise you'll tell me if they try it again? He balled his fingers, leaving only his pinky up. I laughed before I could stop myself. Looking up to find Jason overacting his role in this most serious of pacts let my shoulders relax into an almost normal position. The pinky promise is a time-honored Laureldale tradition. Oh, really? Promise? He winked. Fine. I linked my pinky with his. They are so freaking cute, and she doesn't even know it. They're perfect for each other. Okay, I'm shipping them. Okay.
Okay, continue.
Look, and those of you playing the home game, I have no idea. I don't know what is going on. I know
I meant the home drinking game because I've said continue.
Oh, that's true.
But no, continue.
For those of you playing the home drinking game, please be careful. Drink responsibly, and don't drink and drive, children. And I'm actually serious about that. Yeah, but still, like I make a lot of jokes on here. Okay. Sorry, they're just adorable. The room. No, I'll go back. The pinky promise is a time-honored Laureldale tradition. Oh, really? Promise, he winked. Fine. I linked my pinky with his. They're so cute. The room stayed steady. No trees, no blood, no Jason screaming. How the hell had he made it out of the woods? How the fuck had he gotten that kind of wound? Perfect, Jason said. What's perfect? Sydney said. Jason leapt to his feet, freeing his pinky from mine as Sydney closed the library door behind her and hurried to the desk, her gaze fully pinned to the cards lying beside me. I'm so sorry. You know what I just thought about? This is Jason linking pinkies with Ella, now with me shipping them. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like that time I decided you and I were dating when you held my hand in a theater. Do you remember this? Yeah. You're not amused. Okay. Jason leapt to his feet, freeing his pinky from mine as Sydney closed the library door behind her and hurried to the desk, her gaze fully pinned to the cards lying beside me. Please tell me we're elementals or at least harpies. Banshees, Jason said. Could be worse. Sydney passed Jason the cards he'd, as required, left behind in the dining room. If Ella is all up to speed on the rules of the game... She pursed her lips in a shoddy attempt to hide her smile, as though she'd seen the guilty, pink flare in Jason's cheeks without even glancing his way. We can dive into choosing our strategy. Of course. Jason cemented his status as shitty actor. She's all set. Right. Sydney flipped her own cards over on the desk. Let's see what we're working with. I managed to absorb slightly more about Keepers of the Arcane Text from Sydney's rapid-fire rendition of the rules. She ran through each of our character type cards, assigning which of us should lead attacks, which should focus on tasks requiring intelligence checks, and which should prioritize healing and shielding our party, then dove straight into building us this backstory as a group of Banshee assassins for hire, to expand our options for gameplay, since actions that fit your character's history, of course, offered bonuses, because why the fuck not? Sorry. It's funny because it's so accurate. My tutorial ended with a whispered rundown of the best uses for my items and the races most vulnerable to my weapons on our comically slow walk back to the dining room when summoned by Andre's fucking gong. By the time I sank into my seat at the map table, I'd become Roshin, which Sydney had almost pronounced right when assigning me the name, a spirit healer with an affinity for siphoning the damage from her clansmen into her enemies. That's a badass thing to be able to do in a tabletop game, by the way.
This is why we're recording the episode so late.
Well, I know. Well, because you can tell how much you went into detail here. Sydney had the best weapons and would serve as our primary warrior, while Jason was our curse breaker with the side perk of being an expert on arcane knowledge through his years spent serving the sisterhood that rules our race. Yep. Andre stood behind his chair as he waited for the scholars to take their seats. Hey. A smooth, not quite whisper cut off my frantic attempt to remember which races Sydney said I could totally take out with my pot of Greek fire. The boy to my right smiled as I looked his way. The missing Evan? Sorry I didn't get to meet you before the game. His smile shifted as he held out his hand, not in a creepy way, more like he'd activated sexy smolder mode. I'm Evan. Nailed it. I placed my hand in his. It was only a stupid handshake, but the strength of his grip, the warmth of his skin against mine, the way he held my gaze with a devilish yet playful glint in his eyes, he might as well have been kissing the back of my hand in a moonlit garden. Welcome to Laureldale. Gong! I jolted in my seat. Evan squeezed my hand and whispered, Andre likes to watch us jump. Once, he used an air horn. Andre waited for total silence to begin. For this evening's pursuits, his deep, resonant voice sounded like a narrator from a nature documentary, I submit to this council. Fecal brown hair began a drum roll on the edge of the table. All the scholars joined. Andre watched me, waiting for me to thump on the table with the rest before continuing. We have among us a creature most vile. Andre's words sparked murmurs in the eastern and southern clans. Among us hides one with blood on their hands. Fear punched my lungs up into my throat. No one else saw. You weren't in the woods with Jason. It was a vision, Ella. One who lies with every word. They knew. All of them knew. Liar. Etherean. Trapped. Fuck. They lured me here. They tried to trap me. Tonight, we shall vanquish that marked deceiver. I leapt to my feet, ready to run, but all three Eastern players jumped up too, applauding like Andre had just announced he'd won an award. Go with it? I clapped along, using my heel to edge my chair back, clearing my path if I needed to run. I knew you had it in you, Teal Hair said. Long live the Quest Weaver, Nose Ring said. Proud of you, Frizzy Hair said. Andre, sorry. Paige stepped closer to the table, entering my line of sight. Good keeping an eye on who's lurking behind you, Ella. Good surrounding yourself with humans you barely know, Ella. Are you sure that's a best first game for a new player? Paige said it like an apology. Since I'm assigning Jason the role of her guide and marking them both as innocents in this campaign, so he'll have to keep his character alive and oh man.
You got this, I believe in you.
Thank you so much. Since I'm assigning Jason the role of her guide and marking them both as innocents in this campaign, so he'll have to keep his character alive unless he wants to abandon Ella when any other player on the board might be trying to kill or turn her, Andre set a stack of card-sized envelopes on the table with a decisive smack. Yes, I am sure this is perfect for Ella's first game. Paige wrinkled her nose, as though she couldn't quite figure out the least offensive way to tell Andre he was an idiot. Because Jason isn't going to run into a fight with self-sacrifice as his only plan, Andre glared at Jason. Will you, scholar? Jason glanced from me to Andre, to me, to Andre, sinking down in his chair. I'll do my best. Promising, Paige said. Trust your quest weaver, Andre said. Your event, O great quest weaver. Paige bowed and shuffled backward toward the piles of snacks. Her sarcasm let my heartache slow enough for reason to pierce my panic. Of course he hadn't been talking about me. He hadn't even said anything close to being about me. Be seated, Andre said. He's such a tool. Everyone who'd stood obeyed. I followed along, but tucked one foot beneath me as I sat, changing the angle of my body to keep Paige in view while balancing my weight forward enough I could kick the chair back if the still panicking part of my brain turned out to be right, and this whole welcome week was nothing but a ploy to trap and slaughter me. The Marked Deceiver. Andre held up the card, displaying the dark swirls surrounding the mask of a beautiful woman's face. If Andre hadn't told me what the card was, with her calm, not quite smile, I would have assumed the woman was some kind of healer or peaceful goddess. The rest of your cards will look like this. Andre held up another card, with the same dark border, but instead of a face, the center had been shaded almost like a mirror. Andre took 2 envelopes from the top of the stack, passing them to Jason and me. You'll both have true self cards. That gives them an advantage, Fecal said.
Ugh.
I'm actually making another note.
You sound like a Nickelodeon cartoon.
That gives them an advantage,
Ugh.
Fecal said. I think it might actually give the rest of us too much of an advantage, Frizzy said. It gives you both disadvantage on strength checks if you keep arguing. Andre flipped up the tea cart cover and pulled out a leather-bound notebook. Should I mark the penalty in my ledger? Sorry, Frizz murmured. Fecal huffed, but stayed silent. What does fecal huffing sound like? Humph. Remember, you said yourself this is your fault.
It is my fault. It is my fault. I shouldn't have described him as fecal brown hair, but poop brown didn't seem in voice. And shit brown, I couldn't call him just shit. So it had to be fecal.
No,
okay.
But you already have shit teacher who you refer to as shit. So he's shit.
I know. Okay.
Right.
So we have one that's shit and one that, wow, this is every parent who tells their kids no poop humor. I'm like, I am the nightmare. Okay, continue.
Fecal huffed but stayed silent. That's not in the book. That's just me being an asshole. Good. Andre tucked the 2 cards he'd displayed in their envelopes and shuffled the stack. Our quest begins as a race between 3 clans to steal the Key of Shadows. Yes, motherfucker, Teal sang under their breath. Sorry. I did the wrong pronoun. My apologies. Yes, motherfucker, Teal sang under their breath. Andre went on to weave a tale about the Key of Shadows and how it would give each of our clans the true advantage in the coming war. But worse than another clan seizing the weapon and using it in open battle would be the Key of Shadows falling into the hands of the Keris, a long-dormant evil, trapped by spells woven of all 3 clans' powers long ago when there had been peace between them. Can I just say how much I really, really want to play this campaign? Like, I know that it's not a D&D campaign, but I want to play this, make it happen. All right. So let it be written.
So let it be done.
Thank
Continue.
You. With the key, the Marked Deceiver could rip through that magic and free the Keris, dooming all 3 clans to torture and destruction. When we finally got to open our little envelopes, as promised, I pulled out a true self card, along with a little handwritten note. Your extra hint. Stone sentinels in stoic grace, silent guards of a hidden place. Seek not in blade or death-dimmed eye, but where escape becomes the sky. Do not share this hint with any other player. By the time I figured out why the fuck I'd been given a riddle, we'd already spent 2 apparently risky rounds gathering supplies from our cozy Banshee Mountain territory and headed toward the city where the Key of Shadows had been hidden. Jason whispered to me as the other clans took their turns, narrating what they were doing, along with his theories of why, and reassurances that they had been terrible moves and we were going to win. I realized I could burn souls with my pot of Greek fire just in time to face a shade when we reached the caves leading to the Forgotten Temple. Hell, I even knew Nosering shouldn't have bothered accusing Fecal, one of her own damn clanmates, of being the Marked Deceiver, therefore forfeiting her own life and his, since he was clearly just being a conceited ass who thought he didn't need help and hadn't actually been trying to almost get his clanmate shredded in one of Andre's fucked up traps. She should have known better, Jason whispered in my ear under the sound of Fecal and Frizz bickering, and Asba not sick he swears dude grumbling under them, that he alone now bore the weight of protecting their vampire clan. We switch teams all the time to make sure no one spends too much time with the same scholar. Ahem, Fecal. Ahem. Are you having fun? Jason whispered. Or is this too much nerd for you? Not too nerdy. This just... I fumbled for a nice way to say it. I wouldn't have expected this particular grouping of people to hang out too often. Should we be kind and wipe the vampires out? Evan stage whispered at me. Fuck you, Asma Dude said. Evan laughed. Don't do that, Asma said. I know what you're doing. Fecal stood to count off the mistakes Frizz had made during the game on his fingers as he listed them to the group. Jason made a wince-style noise in his throat. It's not about hanging out. KAT is a big Laurel thing. You don't choose your Quest Weaver and Scholars because you like them. You build your team to win. Win what? I didn't get an explanation of this new Laureldale weirdness since the gong rang, silencing the chaos. Either go to the kitchen for a post-session dessert. Nope. Either go to the kitchen for post-session dessert or sit quietly, Andre said. Fecal left. Frizz stayed. There's dessert, I whispered to Jason as Evan led his clan of elementals into the Temple of Dawn. Always, Jason grinned. Nosering took a slash to the back from a pissed-off statue of a winged fury, which, of course, made the sounds of Jason's screaming start clawing through my head, because fixating on how the hell he could have survived and who had been with him in the woods and why the fuck I'd seen their blood on my hands was healthy. Nosering falsely accused Sydney of being the marked deceiver when our clan caught up to the vampires in the Temple of Dawn, killing them both. Then, as soon as I used my riddle to open the passage behind a Fury's wings, freeing us from the temple without Jason or me being engaged in combat, Teal revealed they were the true marked deceiver, gaining them advantage on rolls and a stat increase while putting a target on their own face. But lo, Teal had acted in haste. Forging a temporary alliance, Jason and I joined with Evan and Asma. The way that you name people.
Just keep going.
Sorry. Evan blocked Teal's path to the Key of Shadows, while Asma blocked their escape, giving me time to trap Teal in my iron snarl, so Jason could deliver the death blow. Upon which Andre declared our epic teamwork had inspired our races to begin peace talks, and the four of us had won the game. Then the dessert binge began, which only ended when Frizz remembered we had school in the morning and started panicking about homework, leading Andre to officially adjourn the meeting. Now that you've had the full experience, Jason said as we both slid on our shoes in the coat closet, how do you like the KAT Society? It's great. My coat had dried to a nice cold damp. So you'll be joining? Jason grabbed his own coat, black with a white and gold Laureldale Rams emblem right above his left pec. I tried not to shiver as the collar of my coat touched my skin. And risk throwing off your carefully curated team? Are you kidding? You were fantastic. Evan appeared outside the coat closet door. Your idea to trap, then attack saved our asses. Ella! Paige slipped in front of Evan, reaching through the door to grab her coat, almost hitting him in the face as she swung it off its hook. I noticed your truck isn't outside. Do you need a ride home? I parked a couple blocks down. As an excuse to have Jason walk me to my car so I could question him about Clara, but I already did that, so now I'm just tromping through the rain for funsies. I think my GPS got confused. I'm so sorry. Paige did not, in fact, look sorry. I can drive you to your car, Evan said. Keep you a little drier, at least. Jason can drive her, Paige said. He's on the Welcome Week committee. I don't mind, Evan said. It's 2 blocks. I can just walk, I said. Then Jason can walk you, Paige said. And then somehow Jason had a massive umbrella, and I didn't get to thank Andre for hosting before Paige had shunted us out onto the porch. The rain hadn't let up, its pounding on the roof loud enough I didn't bother whispering. Does Paige have something against Evan? Jason shook his head, silently laughing as he popped up the oversized umbrella and stepped onto the top stair, waiting to guide me through the terrors of Andre's fancy neighborhood. I flicked Jason's arm as I joined him under the umbrella. Well? Jason's normally full enough to look like fun lips thinned to a line. Tell me, I flicked him again. Is he Paige's ex? Jason's eyes widened. I know why. What? I do. We've talked about that, right? Yeah. What? I laughed. Did he try to get out of Welcome Week? Did he insult her dog? He waited to speak until we'd stepped onto the sidewalk beyond Andre's house, like he hadn't wanted to taint his friend's domain with gossip. Paige doesn't want to set you up to dislike anyone. but Evan's pulled some shitty stuff with girls before. If he tries it with you, Paige has vowed to kill him. Aw, that's so sweet of her. The claws are part of her charm. He nudged my shoulder. We walked a block in silence while I tried to think of a non-creepy way to ask him if I could see his dad's pictures from the night Clara disappeared. Can you tell me what happened in the library? I froze before my mind actually processed what Jason had asked. He didn't notice I'd stopped for 4 more steps, stealing the umbrella's shelter. Rain pattered down on my hood, the inconsistent rhythm battering my brain. Think, Ella. Jason turned, dodging back to get the umbrella over my head. Sorry, it's fine. It's not fine. Letting people notice is never fucking fine, Ella. If you don't want to tell me, I get it, Jason said. It's just that when you screamed, twitched, spoke to people who weren't there, I don't even know what the fuck I did. I just mean, is it like PTSD or a panic attack? He asked. Is that why you froze? You can work with freezing. I wanted to help, but What happened to your back? I cut him off. What? The card I had looked like what they told me happened to your back. He paled, the worry in his eyes disappearing behind some wall he must have practiced slamming into place. Who told you I'd been hurt? Hurt doesn't cover being slashed from shoulder to waist. The rest of the color drained from Jason's face. It really was an attack, wasn't it? Did the same piece of shit that scared you with Clara try to freak you out about me too? He waited for an answer. I didn't give him one. I was out hiking and got attacked by an animal. That's it. He nodded onward, putting his hand behind my waist, keeping right beside me as he herded me toward the truck. If this asshole tries to feed you any more lies, tell them to go fuck themselves because there are no murderers or killer animals or monsters or whatever the hell else they come up with hunting people in Laureldale. I think he took my laughter as a sign of relief. And that ends chapter 16. All right.
15,
hey, look.
15.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's episode 6. And thus ends chapter 15. Sorry about that.
Nailed it.
Yeah, we did. It's just like Ella did about figuring out Evan.
Yeah,
was that better with Evan?
It was better.
Okay, good.
So when we did the read aloud of the chapter earlier, the read aloud edit that we do,
I was doing Evan very much like this.
It's clean when we read you. Yes, he was doing it so smartly.
Hi, I'm
but
Evan.
The thing is that Evan is so, like, he's got that charm so down, it doesn't sound smarmy.
Yeah.
You know that type where they're so damn charming, but you're like, God, it sounds good on you.
Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, one of our nephews is going to be that way.
Uh-huh.
He's kind of already that way.
Yeah.
And he's very young.
It's terrifying. Okay, continue.
Okay, no. So
I need to pick something new to say.
Nope, that's it. That's your catchphrase. In fact, I think we're going to have shirts made that just say page by page on the front and then continue on the back.
You're so rude.
What?
Okay.
I'm hilarious. Okay, so no, we're going to start this the way that we always do. Well, Maribel, hello.
We haven't had
This is one of our
visit the
babies who doesn't visit
before.
here. Hi, honey. You had your food. I don't know why you were rubbing my ankles, but I love you very much.
She's not used to us recording this late, and she says, "Da-da."
Yeah, that's true.
It is time for play.
It is. I should play with her a little bit. So no, we're going to start this the way that we always do and ask you about your thoughts. How do you feel about the chapter?
I feel... So what had happened was...
That was something we millennials used to say when we were young.
So what happened was, it was like the chapter. Okay, so the chapter goal. Stop laughing. Stop it. So the chapter goal was kind of split into 2 parts, but 3 sections. Mm-hmm. So within the text of the chapter, the things I needed to accomplish were Jason's side of the story for what has happened.
Right.
Which is one question, but I love that I'm talking with my eyes closed to get this clear, which is one question, but was part 1 and 3. And then part 2 was getting enough of the gameplay in to make it make sense without being like 3,000 words.
I'm telling you, I could have done those 3,000 more words. I'm fascinated by this.
Yeah, but then I wouldn't have gotten... The thing is, like, there was so much more I could have done to it because I actually... Okay, so I cut about 500 words of gameplay, which was backstory that I could have built more turns on, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
but it was too much, and then I wasn't going to get them all the way to outside.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that needed to happen.
And I needed to get them all the way to outside.
Yes, you did. I agree.
Because outside had to happen, and I didn't want to start the next chapter at Andre's house.
Okay. That makes sense.
But this is not the last time we see KAT.
I certainly hope not, because what a fascinating game. Like,
it does. The thing is, it is a big Laurel-Dale thing. It is like a weirdly big Laurel-Dale thing.
And I kind of know why. And I'm excited. I'm excited to find out more about this.
No, you don't know anything about this part.
I know something about stuff.
Okay, it's not a spoiler. Would you like me to tell you why KAT is such an epic?
Yeah, if it's not a spoiler, please.
I mean, we don't know it yet, but it's not because it's a surprise. Does that make sense? It's one of those.
Yes.
So what happens is every year in the spring.
Yes.
It's almost like, and I haven't named it yet.
Okay.
It's going to have a great name. It's going to be brilliant. I haven't named it yet. But there's kind of like this LARPing KAT festival that is sponsored around the junior high and high school.
They LARP?
No, it is this epic competition.
No, but they LARP?
Without choice.
Oh.
There are sword fighting competitions. There is archery. There are KAT tournaments. Because, and there's this whole town festival around this shit because there is a sponsor, and whatever grade from each school wins gets an epic field trip. So they are forced to participate. So one year they got a trip to New York to see a Broadway show. One year they got whitewater rafting.
Oh my.
So it's like the people who lead the fake jousting and the sword fighting and the archery and the KAT and all this.
You said fake jousting. It just made me think of the DM that got impaled by the cart.
They do it different in Laurel-Dale. They do it different.
So
but like all these people are kind of forced into being the heroes of their class because if they do a good enough job, and like the rest of the class, they have to decorate part of it and put up part of the fair themselves. It's like this big fundraiser for the school, and then the donor sponsors the trip, but the school students actually do everything else. Mm-hmm. So it's this massive competition to see which grade wins.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Because that's what you do if it gets you and all 82 other of your classmates an overnight whitewater rafting camping trip like that. You buck the fuck up and get
so
good
we're
at
gonna
KAT.
we're gonna see this. So when he was saying that you don't ever get stuck with like one set of players, does that mean that they also get different quest weavers and stuff at times, or is Andre always their quest weaver?
No, not always their quest weaver.
Oh, interesting.
So that's why they have 3 sets.
Okay.
Of clans.
Okay.
Because they get broken up into different teams to face the other grades in their school.
So it's literally just the people we saw tonight are KAT.
No, for their grade.
For their grade, yes.
Yes.
But there is okay.
So then that's their grade supply. And then they get broken up tourney style, but it's whoever survives that round gets to go on for the grand battle royale of KAT at the end.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine a world in which this is something that happens in the school system?
If a rich person were willing to bribe the kids enough, it abso-fucking-lutely would.
When this gets turned into a movie, well, when this series gets turned into a movie, because we're not going to get wealthy off of one movie, but we should do this. We should absolutely sponsor a KAT festival.
But it's like you get to go to like Busch Gardens, Williamsburg for like 2 days, or it's like something big enough that these kids are like, we're fucking winning.
I love this so much. Okay. All right. Okay.
So that's why KAT is such a big deal. And while these people hate Fecal, but they keep him around because he could list everything she did wrong. He was right.
And then she did this, and then this happened, and then, oh, you forgot about this part. Remember when you did that? You stupid.
But that's the thing, is that he's right. So they're like, fuck you. But yes, God.
So he's good at finding like the holes in their tactics and stuff like that.
Yes. He's
Has their class won before?
Not in high school, but in junior high.
In junior high they won.
Yes.
Okay. Did Noah almost cause them to lose? Is that what he did?
No.
Okay.
That's not, he's not.
All right, yeah, he's not Cage.
He's not trusted with that shit.
That's fair. Okay.
No, Paige doesn't let him near that.
All right, so jumping into a couple of things I want to talk about. I don't think we've got time to hit everything, and that is okay.
You mean I went on to...
No. Well, I also went very slap happy during the reading. So.
But like Laurel Dell, it's like the whole town gets taken over by this shit.
I'm down. Let's go. I want to go to Laureldale. Well, except I don't because it seems creepy. But I do. Well, it's kind of like El Brea too. Like I don't want to go to El Brea, but I would go to El Brea.
When you're talking about a class of like 300, 400, 500 students for each year, that's not going to work. But when you're talking about 80 kids and there's a Paige Paxman involved, then it's going to work.
Yeah.
Because it's a small enough community, it would work. But no, in like a larger community.
Okay.
I see where you were like, what? With your eyebrows.
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
All right. So
I said it again.
Okay. So they said I'd go the same way as Clara. It occurred to me just during this read through, I was like, wait a minute. This is built, a lot of her lies are built on the truth. So when she's saying this, I go, wait a minute. Violet did kind of say that she would get outed from the town. So I know it's just very interesting because I had talked to Megan about this before the podcast, and I was like, it feels very much like Jason is being like, who told you this? Who told you this? That there's subtext there being like, was it Violet? And Megan said that it could be a number of people, but that Violet was definitely,
it could be Haley.
It could be Haley.
There are choices.
Fluttery hair bitch Haley.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think you actually insert the word bitch there, but yeah, fluttery hair Haley, who is very bitchy to Ella. But no, it just made me wonder about that. So did you put that in there like as a like it is what I'm saying accurate? Like, is she building this on truths, like this particular lie? Because she has to be very careful about how she lies about this, right?
It's not that she's necessarily pulling from what Violet said. It's that she knows that that's gonna get the biggest reaction.
Okay.
It's not like someone tried to scare me. Someone tried to scare me and said I was going to disappear too. Then protection mode is going to kick in.
Okay.
So it's not that she's like pulling from this fear that Violet's going to burn her.
Right.
It's that she's poking that hero need in her. Someone said that I'm going to go the same way.
It occurred to me
that it's a little shitty she's manipulating him?
Yes. And I'm like, and no, what? So yes, but what really occurred to me about that is the fact that somebody's going to find out how she's manipulating them. And this is going to lead to some severe hurt. It's going to be bad because someone's going to find out.
But
she's not that good.
At the same time,
she's doing it for the good.
She has to.
I know. It is a necessary evil. I get it.
And that's the thing that fucking sucks is that like, she needs the answers. She can't just say, give me information and don't ask why. No. So it's like, what? She has no better choice. But yeah, she's being really shitty.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, I can't actually say that. I'm going to show you what I was... So speaking of annoying voices, and I wrote this down here, and I'm like, is he going to go the same way? And I don't think I can...
there is a character in the series, The Tethering. And when we were doing the read aloud edits for The Tethering, because normally when I write a novel, I'll write the novel, I'll edit it.
So yes, we've been doing read aloud edits for over 30 novels now.
Yeah. So I'll edit it, Chris will edit it, I'll edit it, and we'll do a full read aloud of the whole book before it goes out into the world to other editors. And when we were doing
which is why we always get the thing back of the editors being like, man, your work is clean. We're like, we know, because we work really hard.
But he was using a voice that really annoyed me for one of the characters, and he refused to change it because he knew it annoyed me. So eventually, because I didn't like Chris using the voice, I killed the character.
She did. Can you imagine? Like, that is so... I mean, it's brilliant.
I made the voice stop. You said there was no way I could make you stop using that voice.
But didn't I bring that voice... Didn't I bring that voice back for a character? Yes, I think I brought it back.
Yes, you did.
I brought it back for Lord Gareth, I think, a little bit. for our read alouds of
potentially.
Yeah. Okay. So that's unimportant.
Yes, but
I
I'm
thought
not
it was funny.
necessarily going to have Fecal die tragically just because your voice for him is annoying.
Yeah. Okay. So a couple of other things. One where it says, we talked about this. Never mind. But I had written down, you don't choose your quest weaver and scholars because you like them. You build your team to win. And then she's like, win what? And I wrote, yeah, Megan, what? But you talked about that. So
yes.
we hit on that.
I haven't named the festival yet because I'm not sure exactly what month it's in. And so I don't know if I want it to be like May Day, but May is not really going to be enough time to plan that big of a field trip if you don't know which class is going.
That's
first.
True.
So then does it need to be in April, but then we need to change away from the flower theme. So like I'm still trying to figure out the month.
Okay. All right.
Honestly, that's why it doesn't have a name
okay.
yet.
Okay. And one of my favorite lines in this is when Ella goes, there's dessert. And we talked about this. You were talking about how her appetite has come back, which we see a little bit at the cafe, right? Mm-hmm. But explain to me why again, because I think that's a good refresher to have. Like, why is it that all of a sudden she's like, food?
It's more whenever she's having fun or distracted or isn't kind of in that stress, not wallowing, because I don't think she's wallowing, but in that stressed, hyper reserved, depressed, grief-ridden state, she doesn't eat when she's like that. She's like forcing down half a power bar.
Right.
Kate's making her eat breakfast
right.
that has actual protein in it.
Yes.
So when she's actually like out in society and like happy and doing these things, she realizes how fucking hungry she is. And then she just pounds all the food in sight.
I love that.
But that feels very normal to me. Like,
yeah.
She doesn't eat when she's not doing well, and then she's like doing okay, and she's like, nums.
Yeah. Okay. I think we've got time to touch on these next two things, and then I have one more that I want to hit. But I rarely hate places with decent coffee and carbs. First of all, I love that quote. I love how honest that is from Ella. And also I love the fact that you gave me an acting note on that. You're like, no. It wouldn't be quite so, it wasn't flippant. Was it like, flippant?
I rarely hate places with decent coffee and carbs.
No, I rarely hate places with decent coffee and carbs. I made it a little too lilty and light.
A little too sassy, but it's a truth.
But it's a truth.
I rarely hate places with coffee and carbs.
Yeah, so that is nice to see a truth like that from her. But I just thought it was funny that you were like, yeah. Oh, and then I got to keep a line. I get to keep a line in here.
You made an edit and you got to keep it
Megan,
it was very clever.
when we decided last week that the players were called scholars in this, Megan and I discussed that, and that was the word that we came up with that we liked. If we have the quest weaver, then we have the scholars. So she had written in here because she didn't have the word down in her file with everything, and she was like, so whatever the players
because of my draft of the document, because I was trying to pick one and I sent you options, and then it's the way it got transferred to my computer. I wasn't sure what was in my file, so I was like, scholars, educator. I couldn't remember which word I said.
That's fair. Well, also you have.
I just want to think.
We're
so sloppy. Okay,
it's fine. All right. So the last.
But no, I do know my own story. But what happened was, I forgot specifically which term I had chosen. You didn't read them your quote.
Huh? Oh, it's fine.
But what it was is I wrote down players. What's the fancy term? And he inserted.
I said, wait. You can either keep this or you can just change it. All the players, scholars joined. So I had Ella have kind of a tongue-in-cheek moment there of being like, I'm so sorry that they're not called players. They're called scholars. So I don't know. It was kind of fun. That was a fun thing for me. I love being an editor. it's fun.
I'm glad you enjoy it.
I do enjoy it a lot.
You're good at it.
Huh?
You're good at it.
Thank you. I think 30 some books later I should be. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was our debate here. I think that this is so funny because we've both played D&D. I've played more RPGs than you have, both in video game form and in like tabletop stuff, like doing stuff like Magic the Gathering, which isn't exactly the same, but it's got similar elements. So we were talking about, it's like, okay, so I am trying to go like really into this and figure out what is it the marked deceiver gains by exposing themselves. Like, so okay, let's do advantage on rolls. Great. And then we can pick a stat to increase. And Megan's like, no, we're just getting a stat increase because it'll change depending on like what the character is. I was like, but well, I mean, okay, so like what is their character like? Should it be wisdom? She's like, no, it doesn't. The quest weaver's going to decide. I was like, no, and I kept being like, no, I want to like think through this. Megan's like, just leave it alone. I was like, sorry.
He wanted
this whole debate that we had, and it was very funny.
He was asking me for the entire rule book, and this is one of those situations with KAT where I didn't want to go specifically into how the stat increase works. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know enough about gaming math to make
I don't either.
Well, to level it, because the thing is that you would want it to be enough that they have a decisive advantage. So 4 against 1, like I want them to have the monster power that you would have in D&D. So 4 against 1 makes sense.
Yeah.
But I don't know what stat increases would have to happen in order for that to be fun gameplay and not like an awkward either they slaughter him too fast or he slaughters them. So I don't want to say what the stat increases are because I don't.
You know what you're describing, and I'm not going to say the name of it right now, but you're describing a very specific game that you were trying not to be.
That's true. There is a game that
which is
played.
So fun. It is such a fun game, but it is so imbalanced. It's ludicrous.
Yes, we have played a game that we love very much.
It's wonderful.
Not D&D, but it's true. Some of the times you face monsters or things like that, where it's either so easy to get them or it's impossible. Yeah. And that's kind of why I'm giving some vagaries in this, because if I do want it to become a real game, I don't want to say, oh, this is how that works. When me being like, oh yeah, they get a strength and a wisdom, that could be useless, or they could use it to kill everyone. Like, I just don't know enough about game creation to say.
No, that's very interesting. Okay. I like that. You know, you could also, okay, this is the last thing I will say on this topic, and then we will wrap it up.
My eyes go blink, blink,
I know,
blink,
no.
blink.
But you know what could be fun? I'm just thinking now about building the game, is that if you wanted it to be completely randomized, then and it still could be way too much in their favor or way too much in the other team's favor, but you could have them roll a d6 and just assign a stat to each one of the sides.
But the thing is, I'm not sure if it would have to depend on what their
the goal is.
Well, what the goal is.
Yeah.
What they're trying to okay, so they're trying, it's a rescue mission. Like, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Or would it need to vary based on because like a banshee wouldn't need the same things as a vampire, so does it need to vary by their race?
Their race, yeah, possibly.
Like, those are the things about creating this game where I just, like, I can tell you how I want the story to work, but it's those kinds of stat things that I just do not have the knowledge
because you're
do.
Planning on developing this in your spare time, of which there is copious amounts.
It's not planning.
No.
It's daydreaming of.
I understand, but something that would really help, you need to create a character in Skyrim. Even if you don't play it, it will give you such a deep... I mean, it's honestly like creating a character in D&D, but you get to see it. I feel like you get to see it just a little bit more broken down.
I don't want to see how another game does it. I want to work with someone who does games to figure it out.
All right.
Also, you skipped the thing that I spent so much time on today that pushed the recording so late. The whole problem was creating
the riddle.
Damn riddle so that Ella could
Yes.
figure something out.
Yes, I'm so sorry. Yes, the riddle.
Which it's not even that it's really a riddle. It's a hint riddle.
No, but it's beautiful.
Because everyone needs to have their own clue so that each player in this situation can be aiming for something slightly different.
So other players have clues like this?
Everyone has a clue.
Oh.
So that every player can be acting slightly off. So everyone has a piece of information no one else has.
I didn't know that. And she wouldn't know that either, but that's fascinating.
So she's like, why the fuck did I get a riddle? Because everyone has something no one else has, so that you can be like, wait, you're saying to trust you. Am I actually supposed to trust you here?
Oh, so that because they could be the deceiver and because you can't share it. Megan, this is so genius.
That's why I spent so long on the riddle, because each of them has to have. And that's the thing, is that it's up to Andre as the quest giver.
That is so cool.
To give them those pieces of information so that it makes sense if the deceiver is doing something like being weird in a trap that could almost get 2 players killed.
Like,
oh, does he have information I doesn't, or is he being the deceiver?
I know that you're saying like you don't want to like base this on other stuff, and it's not. This game is not derivative, but the number of games you are paying homage to just in this one quest is incredible, and it's so well done.
I'm not trying to pay homage to anything. I'm just trying to make a nice story in a way that I think people could actually make.
And you're doing it great, but like I can literally point to this, but like, oh my god, these are great parts about this one, and these are great parts, and just the way that they're woven together is amazing.
I'm just trying to make the bits go like a little bit.
It's fantastic.
Machine. But that's why we're recording this episode so absurdly late, is because I got stuck on that section of gameplay and wanting to make sure it was at least reasonable.
Yeah, sure.
If not wholly accurate to something that is possible, at least like within the realm of things that could happen.
Yeah.
For this game that may never see the light of day.
Oh, I wanted to see the light of day, but I get it. Yeah, that's true.
It's like, I don't know.
It might not happen.
I don't know anything about game creation. This is a whole new thing I have to figure out.
Yeah, sure.
And I want to do it. I want to do it a lot. And I think it could be cool, but like, that's... I don't want to be like, oh yeah, I'm making a game. And then people who have actually made games are like, you are a fool. You do not understand the struggle.
Yeah, yeah.
I am respecting the people who actually do the job.
Yeah, no, that's true. It cannot be easy.
No.
All right, so why don't you tell everybody where they can find this?
Wait, no, we have to do other things first. First of all, thank you to all the new listeners I met at the Maker Orlando.
And the ones that I met at Adjectives Market in Orlando.
It was lovely hanging out with you and meeting you all. Thank you for joining us on the Page by Page podcast. Also, it is only 2 weeks to the Miami Book Fair. That means two things.
It's not even 2 weeks. Less than.
You're panicking me. We have over 1,000 books in my home right now.
Yes, we do.
Which I can't fit in my car, and we have to figure that out. And also, it's almost the Miami Book Fair. This is 200,000 people descend into this wonderful world of books for 3 days. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. So,
and we're right across from the food court, which I'm stoked about.
So if you're planning a spur of the moment vacation, haven't chosen a destination, Miami for the Miami Book Fair is amazing. If you're in the area, make sure you check it out. You're staring at me. Did I forget something?
No.
Okay, great. But if you're in the Miami area, check it out. Other than that, please do like, share, comment, rate, whatever the way you're enjoying this podcast lets you do things to tell people that you like us.
Can you tell it's 9 minutes to midnight?
People should like us too. I think it was worth it because I'm really proud of the mini storylet within the game.
Yes, it was absolutely worth it.
Even if it was too ambitious for creating for a week-long chapter writing. I did a foolish thing, but somehow I don't regret it.
No, I don't. I'm glad you did it. I'm glad you did it.
So yes, comment and do all the things. You can follow us for next time. And until then, when we shall record at a more reasonable hour, because I will not create another board game just for
This
funsies.
is my believing face.
It won't be a board game, I promise.
It's not. First of all, it's not a board game. You've called it a board game a few times now. It's not a board game. It is a tabletop RPG. Okay, yeah.
But is it a board game because they have the pieces of the map they can roll out?
No, it's still not a board game. No.
It's a map building game. See, this is why I need people to help me.
Yeah, like there I cannot help you.
So until next time.
Yes, until next time.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Page by Page podcast.
Oh, yeah. And as always, thank you for reading.